Ladies and gentlemen, what are the options left for Miguna now that he is back into his own very homeland, in his motherland? Miguna jetted into the country this morning on a day that coincided with the Mashujaa Day, and he headed straight to that celebration. Miguna is a lawyer, a tough talking barrister, a man who does not shy away from speaking the truth, and he will tell you to your face. What does his coming back portend to the Nyanza politics and the politics, national politics at large? Because Miguna is a lawyer and he is also a politician. In this video, ladies and gentlemen, I want us to look at the options that are available for Miguna Daktari if he was to get into the Kenyan politics. Before we do this, if you are watching our videos for the first time, if you are visiting the channel for the first time, kindly subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell. To all our subscribers, thank you for the support that you're giving the channel. Just give this video likes. I need more likes so that this video can be recommended to even more viewers. Miguna, as a politician and as one who wants to get into Kenyan politics, has got the following options. Number one, Miguna, as a Kenyan politician, can pick it from where he left it before he was exiled in Canada. Before Miguna left the country, he had vied for the Nairobi gubernatorial seat as an independent candidate. He was very tough when he met his competitors, then Mike Sonko and former Gatanga Member of Parliament Peter Kenneth. And Miguna believed that he has, and he had even then, what it takes to change Nairobi. He believed that Nairobi needed a leader, someone who could take head on the problems of the Nairobians, from cleaning the city to reducing taxes to the dilapidated state of the Nairobi environs to the haphazardly built buildings, and he articulated this. He didn't succeed in getting into that seat. I don't know what he thinks about the current governor, Johnson Sakaja. Maybe Miguna will tell us. But that is one option that he has. He can wait till 2027 so that he vies for the Nairobi gubernatorial, seat. Whether he captures that or not is something that we wait and see. Then Miguna led a team. He called himself a general, and there was NASA followers, mostly Raila Amolo Odinga followers, who Miguna had captured because Miguna had fallen out with the Ruto government. He believed that their votes were stolen, and he wanted to compel Raila not to accept any other position. In fact, he was really disappointed when Raila Amolo Odinga finally shook hands with the former president Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. So Miguna can still go ahead and revisit his story with the NASA followers, even though NASA is now disintegrated with the some two principals joining Ruto. They are now in government. That is Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula. But the followers of Raila Odinga and those of Kalonzo Musyoka are still there. So Miguna can still decide to sell his agenda to them, remind them that he is there to take them to Canaan that they never reached. So Miguna can still come back and decide that he wants to inherit the constituency where he left it. This means that by 2027, he can build and package himself properly so that come 2027 he can vie as a presidential candidate in Kenya. I don't know whether he has the audacity to do this after the good gesture from our President William Samoei Ruto, who decided to remove the red alert that had been placed by the previous administration, and he allowed Miguna to come back to the country. In a way, Miguna will have some sense of loyalty to him and he might not want to run against him. But that is a second option. He can decide to package himself and contest as a presidential candidate in 2027. Miguna and many believe that Miguna is going to wrestle the Raila Amolo Odinga support base in Nyanza that is going to play a very pivotal role as far as Raila political succession is concerned. I mentioned earlier that Miguna is one of the very people who believe that it is time Raila retires peacefully to go home and remain a, like a patron, politically speaking. And Miguna believes that maybe what he offers the Luo Nation today is better than what Raila gives them. So he can decide to try and sell his manifesto to the Luo community. Miguna is a Luo, a proud one, of course, from Nyando. And if you look at the conversation, if you hear the conversation that is going on after the 2022 just concluded presidential elections, you will realize that there are undertones going on. People of the Luo Nation have already started discussions concerning succession politics because Raila is a bit tired. Our age is coming, is catching up with him. And Miguna, with a host of other leaders, believed that they could offer an alternative leadership. Today, you saw him with the likes of the former Rongo Member of Parliament, Dalmas Otieno Kajwang. We have the former Migori Governor, Okoth Obado, who has openly defied the leadership of Raila, and he is charting his way, trying to cut his political niche in Nyanza by joining the current President William Ruto. The current Member of Parliament of Ugenya, David Ochieng, started this conversation a long time ago, I think by 2013. He, with other young leaders, started something that was called Young Independent Minded Politicians. He almost succeeded, but his moves were thwarted by Raila, then who was still very strong, and people still had hopes that perhaps in 2022 Raila was going to clinch this seat. That did not happen, and David Uchin, immediately after being elected as a member of Ugenya MP, openly joined hands with William Ruto. And so if you look at Nyanza, there are a host of leaders who have defied Raila. They want to chart their own political path. I talked of Dalmas Obado is there, David Uching is there. We have the guy who contested with the Rengo, I'm forgetting his name. And so very many, even the current nominee into the cabinet secretary to IT, David Owalo, I think, yeah, Owalo is also one of them who has defied Raila and is walking in the path of William Ruto. So Miguna can join them so that they can try and offer an alternative leadership in Nyanza. The other option that the general has, I mentioned that Miguna comes from Nyando constituency, and so he can decide to go and contest as a member of parliament in Nyando. And that means that they are going to wrestle it out with the eloquent Jared Okello, who is the current member of Nyando. He is, I think, now serving his second term, having beaten several able men and women who wanted to unseat him. So if Miguna decides to go back to Nyando because that is his homeland, he can be an alternative leader there. He can tell them how he was mistreated. He can give them his manifesto and his agenda. The other thing that Miguna can do is to just get into opposition politics. He can just tell Ruto, thank you for allowing me back. Of course, you are only obeying court orders because there are court orders that had ordered Miguna to be brought back to the country. But the previous administration, of course, William Ruto was part of it, had adamantly refused. But now that he's back, he can still decide to join people like Jimmy Wanjiga. I saw Jimmy Wanjiga the other time telling Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua that even though they have been elected as president and deputy president respectively, they should not look at the government as their own. They should embrace every Kenyan. And if you look at, there are very many people who are trying to build their own political houses. They want to offer, what I call alternative leadership. Raila is a chief opposition leader now, but as he retires, because I believe this is inevitable, sooner or later he might just announce his exit, but I believe that he wants to hand over his constituency to perhaps Kalonzo Musyoka or Martha Karua because that team seems to be united together behind Raila Odinga. So Miguna can decide to join them so that they can criticize the government, put the government in check, or he can just decide to go it alone, tell the people that he is their voice. He will be looking at the promises. He used to tweet every now and then while he was in Canada in exile, because Miguna is one person who is very current. He keeps up with the current affairs of the country. So he can just decide to be a thorn in the flesh of this administration so that people can look at him and say, okay, this is the man we need because this is what our president did then when he was the deputy president. He reminded the nation that we have very many hustlers and that after Raila came and shook hands with the then President Uhuru Kenyatta, they forgot the Big Four agenda. And William Ruto reminded Kenyans that instead of fulfilling their promises, they decided to misprioritize whatever activities that they now decided to make BBI a priority and, creating very many posts. And that is how he went ahead and persuaded Kenyans that he had them in his heart. So Miguna can look at that, just try to remind Kenyans about all the promises that Ruto gave them about the lowering the food prices, the basic commodities, the fuel prices, about the affordable housing, the hustler fund, the bottom-up economy. If he does that, he can package himself, and people might as well see him as an alternative voice. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, Miguna can decide to just abandon politics. He is a barrister. He reminds people every now and then that when you are addressing him, you must understand that he is a doctor, he is a barrister. So he can decide to go into, I believe he has his law firm, he can just decide to pursue, you know, law representing his clients and just forget politics. But looking at him, I don't think Miguna can survive without politics. And I believe that in one way or the other, Miguna is going to do politics, whether trying to be in the opposition or joining William Ruto or going to wrestle, the constituency behind Raila Odinga. He must do one of them.